This episode of Made in America TV is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network, which has been bringing you the best in home-based innovation since 1998.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us for this episode of Made in America.
This is the Made America Show. This is the Cajun contractor Michael King, along with my sidekick, the Made in America guy himself, Mr. Greg Owens. Greg, how you doing, my buddy? I know we're going to be rushing pretty fast here, but we want to make sure that we are streaming live World Wide Web at hometalkusa.com, among many affiliates all across this great country. But Greg, let's jump in. I'm so excited. Man, you got the new CEO, Matt Roberts, on the show. Actually taking your place. So, hey, tell me what's going on over there.
Well, Matt and I have been partners for 20 years, right, Matt? It's been a long ride. He's been president, I've been CEO, but we've kind of been a two-headed dragon here, and it's time for me to retire. So Matt's going to take over all the responsibility and run the company from this point forward. I know he's looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to planting some gardens.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Matt, welcome to Made in America. Matt, can you hear us, Matt?
Yes, I can. And hey, when can I retire, Greg?
I don't know. You'll have to work that out on your own. I'm still in the final details, but I got 1 foot inching towards the door.
No,
but why don't we do this? I know you have a time constraint. You've got to get out to go on another call, but let's start by having you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about where you came from, born at an early age probably, and go from there.
Yes. I was born and raised in central New York in the 315 area code, Utica, New York area, and grew up in Oneida, New York. Went to school at Oneida High School and went to engineering school right on the Canadian border at a small hockey school called Clarkson University. And then I worked as an aerospace engineer for General Electric for a while, and then it ended up working for Oneida Limited starting in May of 1991 after Jack Welch offloaded the aerospace business to Lockheed Martin, from GE to Lockheed Martin. So I've been here making flatware, being involved in the factory since 1991.
And for those listeners who don't know where Oneida, New York is, it's on the tollway, what a lot of people would refer to as the Rust Belt, in between really Boston and Chicago. A lot of manufacturing going on there. And the Oneida factory was once the largest flatware factory in the world, wasn't it?
Yes. At one time, we used to manufacture 3.4 million pieces per week. It was the largest factory in the world, and we shipped our products all over the world, and it was the #1 brand in the world.
Well, I know the story, but for the listeners who haven't heard this story before, what happened? Why did Oneida decide to shut this factory down, and why did you and I decide to buy it?
Well, the decision to shut the factory down, it was the last factory left in the United States, and the decision was made, and there were a number of factors. The main factor was China joining the World Trade Organization in 2000. As soon as that happened, and I was right in the middle of it, the product from the overseas became much cheaper much more competitive from a price standpoint. And essentially, the Chinese manufacturers were dumping product onto our shores. So we muddled along trying to save the factory for about 4 years. We went through a bunch of projects. We did a lot of, I would consider, good things, but it was really not a hill that we were trying to climb. It was a brick wall. And we ran into that wall financially in about 2004. The decision was made to shutter the factory. And it was a 9-month process. In the middle of that process, I called Greg up one day and asked him, what do you think about buying a flatware factory in central New York? And we basically started with a blank sheet of paper, and we ended up creating a business model that at the time was working. We would be an OEM manufacturer for Oneida. We would also lease out unused space in a 1 million square foot factory that we bought. And we would also be an OEM for other brands, with the ultimate idea of having our own brand and moving up the food chain and having a business model that was a little bit more diverse. At that time, there really wasn't an internet business model. It wasn't a big part of the internet at the time. So,
yeah, and I always like to tell the story. When it came down to the end, Oneida realized that they could buy a box of flatware similar in weight and quality to what they could produce in Sherrill, FOB Long Beach, California, for less money than they could buy the raw material to make it with here in the United States. And a lot of people think of competition from China or other low-wage countries as just being the low wages that they're throwing at it, or maybe some lax environmental rules. They're heavily subsidizing their stainless steel, and that's ultimately the math that decided to close the factory, because you can't have a manufacturing cost of zero no matter how much you automate and modernize, right?
Right, and that was what caused Oneida to have to shut down. Now, why did Greg and Matt think that they could make it work? Well,
because we're smarter than everybody else, right?
Well, you know what we used to say. We didn't know if we were the dumbest people in the world or the smartest people in the world. We hadn't figured it out yet. But I can tell you, the first few years, and Greg and I recognized this, in hindsight, people were, not to our faces, but behind us, they were basically laughing. Like, who the heck are these two guys? What do they think they can do? That this huge corporation with this big organization and their fingers into every part of the industry, how can they make it work? Well, if you move up the food chain, so to speak, and you sell your brand rather than sell your product to a brand, you're able to get more margin. You're able to sell your product for more. Like I said, at the time, I think Jeff Bezos was still, he might have been dabbling in a few things outside of CDs and books, but in reality, there was no internet at the time. So we were trying to build our own brand. And that was the idea, is that we were going to be a made in USA brand. We're going to be the only USA brand. And we were going to compete with Oneida, Lennox, Reed and Barton, and the likes, with the idea that if we could sell at those margins, we could make it work even in upstate New York.
Yeah, and there's a funny story. When we started the internet business, we fired up our website. It sort of sat there and nothing really happened. And then one day I said, Matt, come into my office. And you remember me throwing the $20 bill down on the desk?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
We bid $1 a click on Google clicks with the keyword flatware made in USA. And guess how many clicks we got? We got 20 clicks at $1 a click, and we got 2 orders, and we were off to the races. And I don't know. We spend tens of thousands of dollars on Google search a month now, reaching those customers who are passionate about Made in America.
Right. Absolutely. And it works.
And then we've expanded into everything from simple Google search all the way up to national television ads on Fox and Friends, which are working out quite well. And we're gonna have to take a break here in a minute, but let's start the conversation that we're going to lead into talking about the passion for Made in America. Has that passion grown with you, or was it strong right from the beginning? I kind of feel like I've grown into it.
Well, to me, it was strong from the beginning, but my passion was more for manufacturing. The factory, the people, the sounds, the smells, and all the cool things you can do in the factory. And the fact of the Made in America thing to I think yourself and myself was our way out of the doldrums of just being a factory. We're also, we have a cause. It's more than just making things. It's something that we can do that makes us different. It's our differentiating factor.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to take a short break here, Matt, but when we come back, we'll pick up on that theme of the cause. This is Greg Owens. This is the Made in America Hour on the King Broadcasting Network. We will be right back. And welcome back to Home Talk USA on the King Broadcasting Network. This is the Made in America Hour. I'm your host, Greg Owens, and I'm here with Matt Roberts, my partner in crime at Sherrill Manufacturing Liberty Tabletop, and the guy who's going to be taking over for me as I go into retirement and running the whole show, and I'll just sit there and look at it and smile from the background. But before we get back to our next segment, I want to give a big shout out to Lion Energy, who's sponsoring this segment. You can go anywhere with portable power solar generators, and you can find them at lionenergy.com. And Matt, at some point, we've got to get in our shameless plug for where people can go to find flatware that is made in the USA. So where would you send them?
There's only one place. If you're looking on the web, it's Liberty Tabletop, all one word.com, and that's our website. We are on Amazon also. And if you want to come into our factory store, if you're ever in Sherrill, New York, which is the geographic center of New York State, the center of gravity of New York State, you want to go to 102 East Seneca Street in Sherrill, New York, and we have a showroom. We have 3 incredible customer service people that know their product inside out, and you can walk out with the product if you physically want to.
Go ahead.
Well, quickly, like I said, libertytabletop.com, one word. And another interesting thing is you can go to, on the way here, you can stop in Utica. You can get Utica greens. You can get some tomato pie. You can get some chicken riggies. And you can go to the second oldest pizzeria in the United States, Asconitz, down on Bleecker Street in Utica. So we can get some Utica food for you, Central New York food. So we can have a nice lunch, and then you can eat it with the best flatware in the world.
Down south, Michael, they have the collard greens, but if you've never had Utica greens before, I didn't know what the heck it was. You go up there, it is a wonderful, spicy, flavorful way of making greens, and you have to. It's about the broth. Stop in and get some of those.
Yeah, I gotta try it, and it's about the broth. Do they put any meat in it, like pork, any pickle meat, or any?
Be a little sausage in there.
Sausage in there.
Italian sausage. Yeah.
See, like we use tasso down here. We have, I don't know if you know what tasso is, but oh my God, it's a ham. It's a simmered ham, and you put that simmered ham in there. Oh my God, I might have that on my menu, man.
You're making me hungry. Stop.
Oh yeah. Well,
suffice it to say, we've gone down the rabbit hole here. It's a lot of fun doing this, but I wanted to get back because I know, Michael, you've developed a passion for Made in America, and I have as well. And one of the things that we focus on in the Made in America Hour, all the issues that present challenges to companies like ours that we've been introduced to and been fighting for American manufacturing outside of our company, just in general, down in DC. Matt and I were just down in DC not too long ago at the Coalition for a Prosperous America conference. Unbelievable fights going on down in DC, and not this kind of stuff that you see in the newspaper and what we were talking about before, but the things that are actually going on behind the scenes. In fact, I was just on a call with the NCTO group that's fighting the de minimis exception. And there's actually a Democratic congresswoman who has teamed up with Republicans. In fact, she said she had a wonderful conversation with Lindsey Graham. And, you know, they probably never admit that on TV, but, you know, here they are working on similar causes out of the spotlight, and hopefully we can get that de minimis exception eliminated. I'd like to have a big conversation with Matt about that, because I know the two of us have been through the trenches, fighting arm in arm for many years on a lot of these issues, and we're starting to win. So, Matt, I know you're limited on time today, but we're going to have you back on, maybe even next week, to pick up that conversation.
This is important stuff, and the long form discussion is the way to do it.
Well, Matt,
we got to take a quick break right now. So we'll be back in a couple minutes with Margaret and Michael, and we'll continue the conversation. This is the Made in America Hour on the King Broadcasting Network. Be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Home Talk USA on the King Broadcasting Network. This is the Made in America Hour. I'm your host, Greg Owens, and I'm here with Margaret Ingraham. Before we get with Margaret, hi, Margaret.
Hi.
Before we start our conversation, I'd like to give a big shout out to Aztec Washer, who's our sponsor for this segment. Revolutionary and innovative roofing products since 1968. Their motto is seal it right, seal it tight. You can find them at aztecwasher.com. Margaret, this is your first time on the show. Welcome.
Hip, hip, hooray. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. And we got a lot to talk about. But where I kind of wanted to start with is, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your family, and how in the heck you guys got involved in investing in an American-made flatware company?
Okay, so I've grown up my whole life in Syracuse. We've lived in Fayetteville when I was born, and then Manlius. My dad did a little stint down in New York City for a while, and we lived in Connecticut, then transferred back here. So I've been in Central New York for my whole life, and my brother Kevin lived here. I have two other brothers that were out of state. And so when we were growing up, we would always hear about Kenwood and Sherrill, New York, and my mother would talk about it and drive us down, and we would look at the different houses in the area where she grew up. And her dad worked at Oneida, and he was in the human resources department for a long time there. And so the whole Oneida silverware thing was part of what we would hear about. We would drive there and look at the beautiful town in Sherrill, New York. It's so gorgeous. And we just grew up knowing about it, knowing about his involvement there and the sentimentality that went along with it. And so through the years, basically, I went into a career after college, and I went into the media for 30 years. I worked in radio and television, and I had a wonderful experience selling that type of advertising and working in production. And then one day, my brother Kevin said, you know what, I think there might be an opportunity for us to help this small business, Liberty Tabletop, and kind of invest in them as a family, because they were looking for some help financially. So we all kind of talked about it, and we said, well, we don't want to do this just for sentimental reasons, but we believed in it. We believed in products made in this country, and the story of you, Greg, and Matt, we really firmly believed in it. So we decided we would pool money together to help, and that's how we got started with Sherrill Manufacturing and Liberty Tabletop.
Yeah, I guess a lot of us started out with, you know, that sort of patriotic eye on American-made products. How has that grown since you've been through, what has it been, almost 10 years, if not 10 years being involved in this thing? Are you more aware of things and more of a made in America gal?
Well, I'll tell you what, I never paid attention to this. I never really paid attention to this until we became involved with Liberty Tabletop. And now that is basically what I look for first. Whenever I'm searching for a product, for example, the lawnmower that you push that doesn't have a motor, I'm looking and looking for an American-made version of this. A toaster. It's hard to find a toaster made in this country, but we are searching, and we are just wanting to support other manufacturers just like us, and we believe firmly in American-made products. So my whole view of this has totally changed, especially when I go shopping for clothes. If there's nothing other than China as an option for clothing, then it makes it really, really tough. So I like to really look. I go out of my way to find American-made clothes and anything else we're buying. So
Well, that's especially hard online. And we've talked ad nauseum on this program about country of origin labeling, which if you go into the store, like you were just describing, right on the tag or somewhere on the label, it's going to say where it's made. Whereas you go online today and you have no idea until the box shows up at your door.
right.
I would tell the audience, though, chances are almost 100%. It's not 100%, which kind of surprises me. If there's a manufacturer in the United States making something and marketing it online, it's going to say that right up top, because the Made in America logo is a brand in of itself. It really, it propelled our company forward. And any of you inventor folks that kept with us from the last segment that are kind of wondering, should I make my product here? Should I ship it overseas where it's probably going to be cheaper to manufacture? Don't forget that Made in America logo carries a lot of weight, not only with me and Margaret, but with a lot of millions of other Americans who are looking for it every day.
Yeah.
And then I guess moving on to the next subject, you have been involved in our company in the area of our GSA contract and trying to work with not only the military, but also other governments, state, local, and federal government procurement of flatware. And that's been quite an interesting experience, hasn't it?
It's been a totally interesting experience. When I started, I had no idea what a capability statement was. That's like our own little resume. We didn't have that. We didn't have a lot of things when I first began to look into how I was going to approach this and what I needed to do. And there have been some different people like that will help you along the way with your government advertising and marketing efforts. So that was good. And I tell everybody, I feel like it'll take till the end of my life to figure out actually how to do this, because there are so many different rabbit holes to go down. And I found that whenever I'm reaching out to anybody, they're very interested in our story. The people at the bases, the military bases, the kitchen people, they want to buy American-made product. So there's a desire there, and I feel like it's been, a 10-year-long sales process that's just beginning to mushroom, and I think it's going to explode. I think we're going to see a huge breakthrough within the next year with regards to this. That's what I'm hoping for, and I'm praying for.
Right, and it's part of a much broader process that's taking place down in Washington. And again, to the point earlier in the program, on both sides of the aisle, where members of Congress, the administration, have realized that 20, 30, 40 years of globalization have really turned entire communities like Sherrill, New York, upside down and caused all sorts of horrific issues. One of those issues might be you go to the north side of Oneida and what used to be little beautiful factory homes, not castles by any stretch of the imagination, but good working class, middle class homes. That whole area, because all those factory workers left, has sort of tragically turned into sort of a ghetto. And you see a lot of dilapidated homes with folks in there that are living off the system. And it's just, it's kind of a tragedy. And that, like we were talking about earlier, that story repeats itself from Boston on the East Coast out towards Chicago, but also north and south down the East Coast where all those textile factories were. I don't know if you knew this, but in 1980, 80% of the clothes in the United States were made here. Now it's less than 8%. It's almost impossible to find.
Yeah.
So have you found any American-made clothing lately?
I have found some American-made clothes, some very cool corduroy pants that I bought, and a couple of other shirts and different things. And I'm starting to see more American-made options. You got to really look at it carefully, though. Make sure it's actually made here, because sometimes they trick you. And so, I've successfully found some.
I'll give a shout out underneath my shirt here. I got my Liberty Tabletop golf shirt on, and that was made by a company called All American Clothing. And I tell you what, the quality of this shirt, that's probably 6-7 years old, the collar is just like it was when it was brand new. It's not all crinkled up like the cheap ones you might get. And surprisingly, this shirt didn't cost much more than a regular golf shirt would cost you at the local sporting goods store.
Nice.
So we bought it direct, just like our business model on Cheryl, New York, cut out all those horrific middleman markups in the middle, and got a good quality American-made product at a reasonable price, which is what it's all about, right?
Yeah, and it looks good on you too.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm sure you have one. It looks good on you too. We got to take a short break here. We'll be right back with Margaret, and we'll continue our conversation about Made in America. This is Greg Owens. This is the Made in America Hour on the King Broadcasting Network. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Home Talk USA on the King Broadcasting Network. This is the Made in America Hour. I am here with Margaret Ingraham from Liberty Tabletop. Before we get back with Margaret, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor for this segment, Bond Products. For DIY carpet bonding, there is only one InstaBind. You can find it at bondproducts.com. Margaret, welcome back.
Thank you. This is great.
Before we get back into the conversation, I want to invite everybody to listen to a little quick story about Margaret and something just absolutely extraordinary that she did. I believe it was back either right after the pandemic or maybe it was before the pandemic, where you saw a lot of really depressed people out there. Yeah. People walking around moping, and you made this sign. It must have been 3 feet in diameter. It was like one of those things you used to slide down the mountain on in the snow. And it just had a smiley face on it. And you would just stand there on the street corner and jump up and down with this sign. And what was the reaction of people when you did this?
Okay, well, it's funny that you bring this up because the guy who started this reminded me of the free hug guy that you could see years ago in an airport with a sign. And I always thought that was a great idea. But there was a man in a wheelchair on the west side of Syracuse that would hold up a big smiley face as people drove by every morning, and they would beep, and there was a news story about him. And I said to my daughter, Mary, at the time, I said, if he can do it on his side of the street or on his side of town, we can do it on our side. So Mary's like, okay, great. Well, it was like still winter out, and I got the big sign and I made the smiley face and I went out, and Mary spent about 5 minutes doing it with me. And then she said she was too cold. That started what now is 5.5 years of doing this. It has taken on a whole life of its own, even to the point where sign companies have come to me with the smiley face sign already made with handles in it in case it's windy. So it's been the most incredible experience to see the feedback of all age groups of people when you're out there dancing like a fool with a smiley face in major traffic. And people seem to really need it. They just needed a lift. And it's amazing what I'm seeing. The school buses with kids on them that are coming down, and the whole bus gets up and shifts to the side of the bus where they can wave and they want to be seen. And it's just been an amazing thing to experience. I always say, I wish you could see what I see through my eyes just by holding up a smiley face and dancing like a fool. It's been
Well,
really fun.
yeah, and what that does is it provides hope for people. And
Yes.
with all the challenges that American manufacturing has had in the last 20 years that we've been involved in this business, and with all of the challenges that you've had working with GSA and other branches of the government, banging your head up against the wall, it seems like trying to sell stuff. We all need a moment of inspiration. We all need some hope. And thank you for doing that, at least for the local residents of East Syracuse. I'm sure they were uplifted by that. But let's get back on topic here and talk a little bit about the challenges that you face, because trying to sell to the government, even though you mentioned that you get a great response from a lot of the rank and file folks, and of course in Washington, the politicians are going to tell you whatever you want to hear. So they're always going to be happy and supportive. But it's been a real challenge trying to sell into that bureaucracy, hasn't it?
It's been very challenging, very, very challenging, because you will be told on one day, you've got to go and you've got to speak with the offices in Philadelphia. Then you'll call those offices and they'll say, we don't buy that. And you get the runaround a lot. And I remember feeling so disorganized, like, how am I going to actually market this effectively? And that's when I decided I'll have to start with one agency first. I have to start with the Army. And I'm going to call every Army base. I'm going to find out what they call their dining facility manager. I'm going to ask for them and ask them if they would consider American-made flatware. Nobody can say no to that. There's no way anybody hardly has ever said no. So I started trying to organize myself, Greg, so that I would start with this, then I will move to the Marines, and then as I've gone through it, I feel like at least I've gotten a little bit more organized in my method of trying to reach the right people. And from there, it's just kind of letting them tell me, okay, you really need to talk with this office, and then I'll go to the next office. So I feel like I've made more progress, but it's going to take my like I said, the rest of my life to make sure I'm reaching out to everybody and I understand it, Well,
yeah, and we've only got a couple minutes left here, but we just had some interesting meetings down in D.C. with the Office of Management and Budget, who's in charge of an office called the Made in America office. And this has been around for a couple administrations, but this particular version of it, I think, has provided us a lot of hope, in that I think they're taking it really seriously. And we came to them with some very specific things that they can do to help us weave our way through that bureaucracy and get the folks that are there to start buying stuff that they should be buying already, because they're ignoring a lot of the Made in America legislation that has been passed. So we're hopeful that that is going to come through to fruition, and there will be actual oversight going on. And maybe some of the mid-level stuff that's prohibiting people because of budgetary reasons. Oh, I don't care. We want the cheapest thing, buy it from China. Maybe some of that will give way to actually following the rules and supporting your efforts down in or across the world, really, in trying to sell to the military.
It seems like from the bottom up and the top down, it's going in the same direction. I'm very, very hopeful. I believe in this country, and I totally am excited about our ability to do this for people.
Well, Margaret, we've done it again. We've run out of time. We're going to have you back on, hopefully, to celebrate the positive outcome of some of that hope that we've been hoping for quite some time. This is Greg Owens here on Home Talk USA. This has been the Made in America Hour. Hope to see you again next week. Take care, everybody.